So you've set up your event in Glean and you're ready to start recording. So now let's actually start recording as if we were in a lecture. If we go into Glean here, we've got our options up here, and let's say we were actually sitting in a lecture. We want to start recording. If we click on this microphone, you'll now see that audio starts here, and you can see here that the audio is being shown here. It's broken up into kind of audio chunks, and you can see what's happening there. If I stop talking, you'll see that the line goes flat. Okay, so basically what I'd recommend is when you start recording on Glean, you want to double check that there's actually audio being recorded into the platform. If it's not, I'd double check your sound settings, make sure your microphone is correctly connected and the computer's showing that that's actually connected properly. And then hopefully you should see your audio showing up here. So we've got our audio recording here. We've got a few options here to split up the audio. So say our lecture went on to the next slide. We can press this post next slide button down on the bottom left here and press that. And that will take us on to the next slide on the left hand side, and it'll also post a new heading to actually start a new section of audio. That allows us to break up our audio into the slides that as they were kind of presented on the day, so that we can go back and say we want to just listen to what was said around slide 2. We could just click in at this point here where my mouse is, and then just play that back, and we can just listen to back to what was said during slide 2. So you don't have to kind of navigate, really take ages to navigate through the audio to find where you want to go in the audio, which is really helpful. The other option is you can actually use these little arrows again down here to navigate through the slides at any point, and you'll see when it's got this red up the top and bottom here, that means that that's not the slide you're currently recording under in terms of the heading here. So if you do want to post that slide, you can just press the post slide button here. So if we do that, it'll take us, and then we've got a slide 5. If we want to go back to slide 2, for example, we can use these little arrows to go back to slide 2, and then we can post that slide again. Sometimes your lecturers go back and forth in the slides, so you can do that as well with Glean and reflect what's happening in your lecture, which is really helpful. So that's kind of how you navigate through slides and use slides to create headings. You can also create your own headings within slides as well by using the heading button down here. So if I click heading now, first of all, if I click this button, it will mark in the audio when I click the button. So I can take my time typing this heading into this box because it's already marked where I want the heading to be, which is good. So if I want to say possibly talk about on the left hand side here, we've got how do you get in touch. We could put that in, or how can you get in touch. Put a question mark there and then press that, and now we've got a new heading to say that was possibly where I was talking about how someone can get in touch with me as the Assistant Technology Advisor at Harriet Watt. So that breaks that up again, and then if you want to go to the next slide again, just post next slide. Nice and easy, breaks up the audio nice and easily, which is really helpful. And then if if your lecturer perhaps said something important, then you can use this important button to mark something as important. So I can press important. You can either type in something, or you can actually just press enter and it'll just mark that part as important if you don't want to put in a separate note. So if I just press enter now, you can see that now there's a little icon here that actually marks this part as important, which is great. So you can go back to that and review it after the fact and just find out why you marked that as important. If you want to then add a note retrospectively after you've actually marked that part as important, you can just go into the note and you can say revise for exam, then full stop. And then now we've got that note. So there's another option here for reviewing something. So if you maybe missed what the lecturer said at one point, you could press the review button and say, what did the lecturer say here? Put the question mark. Again, you can take your time typing the note out because you've already marked that point for this note to go into. So it's not like it will mark that once you've typed the note, if that makes sense. So you can either press this little post to note button here, or you can press the return key, so the enter key on your keyboard, and press that and it will put it in automatically, which is good. And to create a new line in a note, so if you just want to put a note in without marking it as a heading, as important, or review, you can just put a note in as well. So if I say this is a note, and then if I want to create a new line, I can press shift on the keyboard and enter, and then that will make a new line. This is another part of the note. And then you can see that's a note that we put in, and notes are marked on your audio by the little circles here. So that's quite good. And say you know where you want a note to be put in, but you missed putting it in at the time, you can actually just go back at any point in the recording and put that note here. So if I want to put it up here under slide 2, I could just click on that, and you've got the option to put in a new heading, you've got the option to put in a note, You've got the option to put in an important note, or you've got the option to put in a note to review that section. So if I just put a note in here, you can put in a new note. Let's just put that in there. And then we add that note into that part of the recording, which is great. Additionally, you can add in pictures by just using this post image tool here. So if I press this tool here, it gives me a couple of options. So either you can import an image if you've already downloaded one that you want to put into your notes, or you can actually search Bing images, which is a nice easy way to do this. So I don't know, if we were searching for assistive technology, for example, search that up there, and we want to maybe put this image in here. We just click on that and it puts that image into our notes, and that's super easy, which is great. And it obviously still marks where you put that in, and that is marked at the point you press the little image button here, post image button. You've also got the option of putting definitions in. So if I press post definition, which is this little icon down here, it gives you a definition from Wikipedia. So if I search up assistive technology again, we can see what comes up. If I press that and press search, then it gives us the Wikipedia page explaining assistive technology. The other option here, rather than using the Wikipedia and using definition, is actually just to go to your browser and then to just define assistive technology, for example. And then it will come up from Google, and we can, let's go into this government website, and we've got the definition here. We can just copy and paste that. So just press Control-C on your keyboard, go back into Glean, and then we can just post it in there as a note. So that's another option if you want to post a definition. And then finally, we have the option of creating a task. So if we click this post task button, it will give us the option to add a task. Again, that's been marked when I've pressed that post task button. It's been marked there in the audio as to where that task should be. So say your lecturer said, read page 5 of course textbook, for example. And maybe we want to, so just put that in, and maybe we want to add a due date for next week, because that's when the next lecture is. So we could just put the 18th, and then we can just press post task to feed. And now that task is there. It's also included in that task list on your dashboard, so you can review that at any point. And that is how you create notes with Glean. It's extremely easy and quite intuitive. So then once you've created the notes you want to do and you're finished recording, you can just press this stop button up here and it will stop the recording.